Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tony T's Toon Talk here at the Port Washington Public Library. I'm Tony Traguardo. Welcome to our YouTube channel. And as you know, we talk about all things music on this show. And on this particular episode, it will be one of my favorite topics, the Beatles, and featuring a very special guest, an author, a gentleman named Mr. Brice Spizer. So welcome, Bruce, to Tony T's Toon Talk.
Glad to be with you, Tony.
And we're going to talk about the newest book. I'm going to hold it up and do the show and tell.
Oh yeah.
And the show is the book is called The Beatles Finally Let It Be, and it's interesting. It says compiled by Bruce Spizer, and you've got some very special fellow writers, additional contributions by. And I'll let you explain who these folks are that are.
Yeah, Bill King, who is editor of a magazine called Beatle Fan. Al Sussman, who is an associate editor with Beatle Fan. Frank Daniels, who wrote a book with me on the Beatles records on Parlophone and is a really interesting person. And Piers Hemmingson, who is in Canada and helps me out with what was going on in Canada. And by other fans, what I mean is that we have a section in the book called Fan Recollections, where we just get everyday people to write in and tell us their experiences about first encountering the record, or in this case, the film. And some of those people are special people as well, such as people who are on the rooftop for the Beatles rooftop concert.
Wow.
I did a book on Sgt. Pepper, and one of the best fan recollections in there was by Billy Joel. So Billy Joel's a big Beatles fan too. No shock there, I'm sure.
Right, absolutely. Now, you mentioned this, in passing just now, but this is certainly not your first Beatles adventure.
Oh no.
how many books? Now you've done this. This is your fourth book in a series where you're covering an album in detail.
Yes.
But before that, it was an interesting path in how you covered the Beatles story. And
yeah, there are actually 8 other books that I did first. And basically I did a book on the Beatles records on VJ, which was an R&B gospel label in Chicago that had the possession of 16 Beatle masters only before they reverted over to Capitol. And oddly enough, I was able to turn a whole book into that. And then people loved the book, and they're like, well, when's your Capitol book coming out? Because the Beatles records are mainly on Capitol. So I started doing a book on the Beatles Capitol records. But even before that book came out, people said, but my favorite period of the Beatles is the later stuff on Apple records. So the next thing I know, I'm doing a whole series of books on the Beatles in their different record labels. I ended up doing a book called The Beatles Are Coming because I wanted to explain how Beatlemania evolved in America for the 40th anniversary of the Beatles' arrival in America. And on that book, I finally got to interview some of my childhood idols. And I know you're thinking, oh, you got to interview Paul and George and Ringo. No, I got to interview Walter Cronkite, Edward Newman, and Mike Wallace.
yeah,
Those of you who don't remember, those were very famous reporters who reported on the Beatles. And it was a lot of fun. I loved doing that book. And that's actually my favorite book. And then I did a book on the British records with a guy named Frank Daniels called The Beatles for Sale on Parlophone. And, that got me up to a nice, even dozen, 8, and time to retire, call it a day. And
no, he dragged you back in again.
Yeah, well, what happened was for the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper, I wrote an article that I was going to place, and I thought, well, maybe this can go on Beatle Fan, and I realized it's too long. And Beatle Fan's in black and white. It's great, but it's in black and white, and all my books have tons of colorful images.
Yes.
And I thought, I don't know anyone that would put this out the way I want, so maybe I'll just come out with a magazine. And then I thought, that's silly. Why don't I make it a book? And I thought, well, I don't have time to get this done. So maybe I could get by with a little help from my friends. And so that's when I contacted a couple of people, and they were excited about the project. I got the idea of the fan recollections. And so what the books in the album series do, and that includes Sgt. Pepper, the White Album, Abbey Road, and the new book, The Beatles Finally Let It Be. The first part of the book has like a chapter on how the record came out and was received in the United States, and then another chapter on England, another one on Canada, courtesy of Piers Hemmingson. Then Al Sussman will write something, what was going on in the world during that time frame, and Frank Daniels what other music and what movies were people going to see in that time frame. That's about a third of it. And then there's a middle section called Fan Recollections, where I get different people just to write in. And these are people from all over the world. We have people in South America, people from Russia, people from the United States, even people from New Jersey. And so the whole thing works out to where, that to me is one of my favorite sections of the book. And then the last section covers song by song, how each song was recorded, who played on it, how it was written, and that stuff. And that's pretty much the format. And although it's a more or less a strict format, it's fluid because things are different for each album.
Sure. And what's nice about it is that if you take Bruce's books in context with some of the books that have been written where they talk strictly about the Beatles' lives and what they're up to and what they did during certain periods, I love the fact that your books are companions because it puts the music into the context of the fans, of the people who collect the Beatles, who and that's a really nice thing about the books as well. But the new book, it's the fourth in the series, but boy, the timing got thrown off a little bit for Bruce on this one because the other three books were simultaneous with the expanded box set editions that Capitol Universal put out. Apple Universal, I'm sorry, put out. Of the expanded editions of the three Beatles albums that they've done, Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, and the White Album. But this one was a little bit of they threw you a curveball, didn't they, Bruce?
Yeah, shortly after I signed a contract with a printer and was ready to, hit the home stretch, I get a call from Universal saying, there's going to be a press release coming out in a couple hours. We just wanted to give you a heads up. And the press release is going to say that the film's been pushed back from September 4th of this year to August 28th of next year. And so I sat there and decided, okay, what do I do? By that time, I already had like several hundred pre-orders of the book off my website. And I'd already signed a contract with the printer. And I thought, look, I'll just put it out. Why not?
Absolutely.
Because, people are going to miss the fact that, the movie and the hopeful box set wasn't there. So they could at least go out and buy my book. And I thought it would also give me two bites at the apple, pun intended, because I could put the book out then. And then when the film comes out, there would be renewed interest in the book.
Definitely. And we should let folks know that the film that Bruce is making reference to is the upcoming film called Get Back, which is being put together by Peter Jackson, the director of Lord of the Rings. And we have seen, and those of you who are fans know, but if you're not a hardcore Beatle fan, go to YouTube and you can find a 5-minute trailer. Now, let's put this into perspective. Those of you out there have seen the film Let It Be. Now you're seeing this 5-minute trailer. What did you think from having spent years being a fan and seeing Let It Be and now seeing this 5-minute trailer that we've seen?
Well, like I tell people, Peter Jackson took out-of-sync World War I footage in black and white and made it spectacular color. So imagine what he can do with something shot in 16 millimeter color film in 1969.
Sure.
And the colors pop, it's vibrant. And also the segments that are shown in this are the Beatles having a lot of fun. Yes, we knew there were times when you get in arguments putting an album together and the drudgery and the this and the that. But it also shows these guys truly loved each other and they had a lot of fun together. And you could see how much fun they were having listening to the playbacks and the like. So, I'm really looking forward to the film. Can't wait.
Well, the one thing that, one of the many things I appreciate about the book is at the beginning of the book, you sort of share your personal experiences, and you do that in all of the books. That's one of the great things too, that, the fact that you're not presenting this as, the story of what the Beatles did every day. There's always the perspective. And can you talk a little bit about your perspective, how Let It Be and this project that the Beatles took on the beginning of 1969 kind of first came into your life? Where you first,
Yeah, my first, where oddly enough, was in a magazine called TV Guide. And, I get the issue, my parents subscribed to it, and I'm flipping through, and there's this article about Beatles TV special. And it talked about that the Beatles were filming a TV special that would be available on TV later on in the year all over the world. And they had a picture of them, and it looked like they were on the roof of something. And the article on the side called, Four Cats on a Roof. And then all of a sudden, shortly after that, I heard the Get Back single on the radio. And then shortly after that, the Beatles by film were on the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour. And that rooftop concert literally sprung from the page of TV Guide.
Wow.
So that was the first thing. Then I remember reading about it in Rolling Stone in great detail, track by track, of what was going to be this Get Back album. And then Christmas Eve of 1969, there was a station that was a Spanish station during the day near my hometown in New Orleans that went hippie at night, as my Spanish teacher famously said. And that evening, they had gotten a Get Back bootleg, and they played it that night. One of my Christmas presents was a combination radio cassette player, and I popped a blank cassette in and I taped it, and I had this forbidden fruit for months of great Beatles music that very few people had. Very cool. And then, of course, when the album came out, it was different than the tapes I had in many ways, which was disappointing in some ways and good in others. And of course, seeing the film in the theater and being mildly depressed through the first third of the movie, but then the vibe changing when they go over to Apple. And then seeing those three songs in a row, Two of Us, Long and Winding Road, Let It Be, beautiful songs, boom, 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 with no strings or anything's added, pure beauty. And then, of course, the excitement of the rooftop concert, leaving the theater in a wonderful mood.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, I've enjoyed all the work that you've done so far. I'm looking forward to. Is there going to be, when everything is said and done, and the new Peter Jackson film is out, and Let It Be has been, is there going to be, like the way they do with artists adding tracks to deluxe editions? Are we going to see a little more about, the Let It Be book after?
Yeah, I mean, this book's called The Beatles Finally Let It Be, which is a bit of a pun because as a kid, I kept reading about this Get Back album that seemed to get pushed back like a minimum of a half a dozen times.
Absolutely.
And when it came out, it was like, hey, the Beatles finally let it be, was what I thought as a kid. So when I did the book, I had to call it The Beatles Finally Let It Be. And of course, the irony was that Apple, the Beatles management company, was constantly asked for the past 10 or 15 years, when are you going to put out Let It Be? So Peter Jackson's doing this film, although it's called Get Back, it's from the same sessions. So the Beatles finally let it be. And then, of course, they don't because of COVID-19. It gets delayed a year. So my supplement, it will be an 8-page supplement that for those who buy a collector's edition of my book, which you can check on the website, beatle.net, you will get mailed to you for free, or you can buy it and have it mailed to you, or you can download it for free, even if you don't buy the book. That supplement will probably come out in late August or September of this year, and it will be called The Beatles Finally Let It Be.
Very nice. All right. Well, I am looking forward to reading the supplement. I'm looking forward to chatting with you again down the road when we finally get to see the movie, hopefully, in 2021.
Yes, we're in 2021.
We're in 21 now. Yeah,
we are. Yeah,
we're here. Again, thank you, Brice Spizer. I'm going to hold up the copy of the book. It's beautiful, by the way, as are all of your books. I mean, it won't do it justice because I've got this background on, but you can see the quality of the photos and the pages and the it's just absolutely gorgeous. And thank you for all the work that you do for all of the fans and for for all, even for again anyone who's a casual fan. Still something. It's the Beatles, read
absolutely.
It. Why not? So, thank you, Brice Spizer, for being part of Tony T's Toon Talk.
Glad to be Tony.
Once again, we are here on the Port Washington Public Library YouTube channel. My guest has been Brice Spizer. Thank you, Brice. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.